Hi, I'm Maria Lloyd with Your Black World Network and Your Black World, I'm sorry, Your Black Women. And first off, I want to wish everyone a happy MLK Day. This is Dr. King's Day, so obviously we'd like to pay homage to him. Today, it's quite ironic, though, that I'm having this conversation with this brother, Marsette Mangum. How are you, brother?
I'm good. How are you today,
I'm
Maria?
well, thank you, thank you. We're having a very interesting conversation today because if you guys tuned in last year when Marcette had a conversation with Dr. Watkins, he is actually the founder of a really popular restaurant here in the Chicagoland area called Nouveau Tavern, sorry. And basically, the restaurant was shut down by the city of Chicago for no other reason than the fact that it was black owned and it was a really popular spot. So basically, today, what we're going to do is kind of do a recap of what occurred since Marcette last spoke to Dr. Watkins about this issue and basically get you guys up to speed about what happened. So, Marcette, first off, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So, what happened?
Well, I'll pick up real briefly. I'll give a recap. We opened in the River North area in Chicago, which is notoriously uh, white owned, white businesses area in Chicago, where where black people had been having trouble either going to restaurants or clubs or what have you, or even establishing our own situations in that area to take advantage of the tourism dollars. Now, a lot of people from the last time we talked, well, why don't you open up in a black neighborhood? Well, that was the first thing I tried to do. Unfortunately, a lot of the aldermen and women weren't allowing new liquor licenses in their neighborhoods, ironically, because of some of the incidents that have been happening from liquor stores and lounges that were already in the neighborhoods that were white owned, but nobody knew that, but had been having different violations on the liquor license, selling to underage kids, stabbing, shootings. But because they were white owned, they were allowed to exhaust a lot of appeals in the appeals process through the Liquor Commission. Now, the same Liquor Commission fast tracked me for closing within the year. So
Wow.
from then, let me fast forward. Before we talked last, we were getting ready to go to court because they had done an emergency injunction to keep me from showing the Floyd Mayweather Manny Pacquiao fight, which is the biggest fight in the century of the century. Everybody else was showing it. I actually had a licensure that would allow me to charge admission at the door if I so chose, which everybody was doing. And I could do that legally. A lot of businesses, who I won't name names, weren't able to do that because they didn't have that type of license. But if you don't know that, you won't think, because they had the banners, Miller High Life, and all that. So they picked me out of hundreds of restaurants, bars, taverns, everywhere in the city to say, you can't show the fight. They took me to court a couple of days before the fight, brought the 18th District Police out there, the Entertainment District Police, saying that our place was rowdy and they were afraid that something would happen. uh, Last I know, unless you're watching Time Cop or something, you can't punish something for somebody for something that hasn't happened yet. So that was their whole theory. They had hundreds of police officers in court saying that, oh, this is the workplace, this, that, and the other. Even though if you go on clear past Chicago, you can clearly see that we had the least amount of arrests over any place over there, and that was just unbiased data. So we even offered to have up to 30 security guards, which is ridiculous in a place that only holds up to 250 people.
Right.
We offered to pay for 30 security guards for that night, and they still said no, I couldn't show the fight.
Wow, that's disgusting. So could you kind of tell us, last year when you spoke about this incident, you shared the financial strains that it had on you. Could you kind of share, I mean, how has that kind of panned out? Are you still, financially strained from this whole incident?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was it. That was the last stand. I think they knew that at that point, if we allow them to show the fight, the revenue would allow me to kind of put some other things together and and stay relevant. So they got together and did whatever they could. They subverted the judicial system. First of all, they took me to court in housing court, like in the city of Chicago, where if you own property, if you're a landlord and there's complaints against your property, hey, someone's selling weed on the second floor, someone's gangbanging or whatever, whatever. Those are the courts that you go to. This court wasn't even established for people who have commercial businesses like myself. And again, like I said before, to my knowledge, this was the first time that's ever been used. So they were literally pulling stuff out of their butts to try to keep me closed.
Wow. So, okay, what effect has this had on um, Black Chicago? I mean, I know you and I kind of talked about this, offline last week.
Right.
This is such a great loss to Black Chicago. So, what kind of effect, what kind of losses have we suffered as a community as a result of this restaurant being shut down?
I still get calls. I still get emails from people who are asking when we're going to open, who are mad, who go to other restaurants, who are angry because they try to, recreate the concept in terms of some of the Louisiana foods that we were doing. And I got a call last night from some people like, man, we were out somewhere last night and we thought about your spot. The food wasn't close to what you guys were doing. The ambiance wasn't close to it. If I'm traveling and I run into people in other states who knew about Nouveau, they're like, well, why don't you do it here? So, it's just one of those things where people really miss it.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, true enough, there's some people who don't understand the significance of what we were doing because we didn't put everything out there. We did a lot of toy drives. We did a lot of school drives. We did a lot of fundraising for the Black community in that space that nobody, we didn't advertise it over the top, but we were using ourselves as a vehicle for the Black community. We did some fundraising events for people for their medication. I had some people, some
Mm.
friends who had really significant diseases where their medication was very, very costly per month. As we did fundraisers for them there, we were doing a lot of things to help out the community that people didn't give us credit for. So, like I told some of the detractors, like, okay, well, if you're concerned about your fries took 6 minutes instead of 5 minutes to get here, just hold your breath until the next Black restaurant comes down here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I do think it was a loss. And to answer your question, yeah, I mean, that took my life savings and then some. So, we're still trying to kind of figure our way forward from there. So that's what happens.
Right. And, I just want to, as a sidebar, I'm not saying this just because you and I are conversing. I know you, right? But I can speak from personal experience that this establishment was top of the line. I mean, the venue
Right.
itself was immaculate. It was a beautiful venue. The food was incredible. And I'm from the South. I was raised in the South. So I know especially my New Orleans cuisine. I mean, Mississippi is right next to
Yeah. Yes. Twin
Louisiana. So
brother New
I
Orleans.
really know that taste. And that restaurant was superior from the service to the meals, the drinks. I mean, the whole 9 yards, the flat screens, all in there. I mean, it was a beautiful venue. So, I mean, I was devastated, as I told you when we spoke last week. I have been thinking about your restaurant since, the last time you and Dr. Watkins spoke. And I literally kept saying, man, I have got to go back there. I need to call him and make sure, they're still open, what's going on with that. And to learn that it's been shut down is so devastating to me as a patron. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It was the second year. We were really turning the corner. We were in talks. A lot of the producers, like I said, a lot of the who's who had gotten word, hey, this is a spot to go to.
mm-hmm.
So we had been in talks with some of the producers from Empire who were shooting in town. Hopefully, to get some scenes shot there. Gerald McClendon was shooting some scenes from his show there. We had done a couple of scenes from not Bar Rescue, it's another one of the bar shows, and some things were really looking up. So we were starting to get some real good press, even despite what was happening. And in terms of the food, I think I was the only one who had a Black executive chef downtown. So, I
Wow.
took great pains to try to, tinker with the menu to make it comfort food, but upscale comfort food.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't too fussy, still some of the basics, but with a twist,
Mm-hmm.
So we endeavored to do that, and I think we had some level of success. We were still working out some of the bugs, so I wasn't not trying to say everything was perfect, but
Right.
I know I had to contend with your normal business growing pains, plus stuff that a lot of my counterparts don't have to deal with. So,
Exactly. That's true.
know,
So, what's going on? What happens next? I mean, do you foresee yourself opening another, restaurant in Chicago, or do you see yourself opening Nouveau somewhere else throughout the nation? Like, what's going on now?
Like I said, I've been approached about doing it somewhere else, but just mentally and physically and financially, just kind of taking a break right now. But who knows what'll come of it? And I would like to do something in Chicago. We're still, well, the funny thing, and I can say this, but there's some things that we're still kind of working on. I can say that once we were out and they realized that I still had the liquor license that they told the media that I didn't have when they came in and took it off the wall, they had to reach out to me and say, hey, check it out. We'll drop all the charges if you turn in the liquor license. Right. So
Wow.
what that means is they realized that if I let that liquor license die, nobody else could get a liquor license at that spot. And that's what we didn't really go into detail about liquor license in the last meeting, but they're tied to the address. So people were like, hey, why don't you just move? I can't just pick up a liquor license from one address and
Right.
move it to another one. All the other things have to be in place. It has to be 100 yards from a church, 100 yards from a school, et cetera, et cetera. All those other things have to be in place, and the alderman has to sign off on me bringing it to a new ward.
Mm.
So once they realized that if I let it die, nobody else could open one, then they wanted to talk. So once their mission was accomplished, which was getting that black business out of there, they wanted the license back. So I'm sure in a couple of months or the next year or two, you'll see something else opening up in that spot, and it'll be business as usual. Um,
Wow.
just in terms of where do I go from here, still working on my journey. Like I said, I shared with you some other instances and some
Right.
other things that I want to do, and I think that this has become part of that journey. So I've been speaking out on the damages of institutionalized racism here in the city of Chicago and beyond. So this isn't a fight that I just got into recently. This
Mm-hmm.
is something that I've been seeing prior to this, and this is also helping my narrative so I can add some credibility to what's being said.
Right,
So
exactly. And one thing I forgot to ask you in the beginning with regard to what you were experiencing as a refresher, and I think you did mention this in your conversation with Dr. Watkins, but weren't there instances of them kind of vandalizing your property, putting stuff like, the N word, go home, or something like that? I
yeah,
mean, this is just
absolutely,
crazy.
absolutely. That wasn't even the first thing. A lot of stuff went on that we did not report to the media. We would come in the mornings, and there would be garbage in the revolving doors. There would be dog feces in the revolving doors, and they would, with the hopes that we would smear it as we opened it, not knowing
Wow.
we had the key to the other door, so we just walk in, have it cleaned up, and keep it moving. There was an incendiary device found. I'll put it that way, in the back of the building, in hopes to do some damage that way.
Mm.
Then, with the eggs, they were egging some of the cars, and I think that was the incident that really first kind of got media attention. And right after that, that was the situation where they wrote "niggas go home," uh,
Wow.
and they didn't do it because I wasn't educated, or because my pants were sagging, or because I would pull up to the store, listen to rap music. So
Right.
all those excuses are dead.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. That definitely kind of proves that the whole like black middle class or black elite, no one is no one is immune to systemic racism. So even if you are
exactly.
that quote unquote good Negro who does
Right.
everything right, you're still subjected to the same treatment that, a sagging pants, gangbanger in Chicago gets as well. So this is, I guess, what I'm trying to say is this further proves the need for us to unite, no matter
Absolutely.
what class we're coming from or level of education. Because at the end of the day, bigoted people like the individuals who vandalize your building and shut down your restaurant, your establishment, they don't care. They're not looking at whether or not you graduated with a college degree or you're an entrepreneur. I mean, yourself, you are a somewhat of a serial entrepreneur. You have other establishments. So they don't care about that. They just see a black skin and they don't like
Right.
it. And so they want to take you out. So, Marsette, I just want to say, again, what a loss. Even, for me as a patron, before I actually met you, I knew your business first. And so again, I've brought tons of friends, family members. Every time someone came to Chicago, that was the spot I took them to.
No,
So this has definitely been just a devastating blow for myself because I really genuinely loved your establishment. I loved the venue. It was beautiful. The food was excellent. Again, the drinks were really good. The crowd was, a very, it wasn't stuffy, but still sophisticated, like a classy crowd. You could definitely tell that most people who patronized your business were like, college educated Black people who were just looking for a nice place to hang out. So thank you for bringing that to the city. And I'm so sorry that, that enough of us as a community did not fight on your behalf or fight with you as they were shutting you down. So, thank you. And I'm so sorry that this happened, but you're like I said, you're a serial entrepreneur. So I have no doubt that, this beautiful restaurant will resurrect in some shape or form somewhere else, maybe.
yeah, we're looking at, again, just kind of exploring all options and just trying to see what's the best direction to take.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to thank you again for giving me this opportunity, to really kind of voice what was happening. And I guess, thanking all the people who did support us. And then we had our detractors as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the irony in that is the same people who didn't believe the Chicago police would come in and take the liquor license off the wall and say that I didn't have one now are vindicating me with the whole Laquan McDonald situation. So,
Mm.
these are the same people who didn't believe that, oh, well, you must have done something wrong. Chicago police wouldn't do that. Racism isn't that pervasive in 2014, 15, 16. Well, here it is.
Right. Exactly.
That and other, other incidents have been coming out since then
Right.
or even before my situation.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, our community is in some way splintered and we don't believe things unless it directly impacts us or happens, right in front of our doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to get better at unifying and understanding the phenomenon of white supremacy and phenomenon of 400 years of saying Black bodies, Black lives are less valuable than white bodies and white lives
Right.
and the serious pervasive impact of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when something happens to a Black person, we automatically assume that they were in the wrong or they were at fault, as opposed to when white people, hey, wait, let's wait and see all the facts come out, then we'll make a judgment.
Right.
But the judgment's already made when it contains Black people. So
Mm-hmm.
we as the people have to do better than doing that ourselves. So, subconsciously, I think we do a lot of that to ourselves, and we're a little bit more critical of Black situations, Black businesses, Black endeavors than we are our white counterparts. So,
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great point. Honestly, I at some point in time I was guilty of that too. I would go to a Black establishment, and as soon as something didn't work out the way I expected it to, I would go to Yelp.com and bash the establishment. And
yeah, yeah,
but
that was you.
I
Okay.
know, no, well, not I know, not
Oh,
with
no,
your
I'm just
company,
kidding.
not
No,
with
but
your
we got a
company.
lot of that. Like
Yeah.
I said, it would be people who were an hour or two late for their reservations. We still tried to see them,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would wear us out on Yelp. Man, they had to make me wait 45 minutes. Da, da, da. You didn't mention that your reservation was 8, and you and your party didn't show up till 9:30.
Right.
You
Right.
conveniently left that out of the interview. But
Right.
like I said before, even in the city of Chicago, Black people are conditioned to go wait at what's the name of the spot?
Oh, a Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, Cheesecake Factory or
Mm-hmm.
Grand Lux for 2 or 3 hours in the door. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
it's a 2 hour wait. Okay.
That's true.
They stand down there at the bottom of that vestibule and it becomes a badge of honor. But if you go to a Black spot, you got to wait 10 minutes. You're wearing us out on social media. So we need to do better in that. And we need to
I agree.
recognize that was what we're doing, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to do a better job at being more patient, tolerant of our own.
I absolutely agree with that. Well, Marsette, I know that this is not the end of you. We're going to see more of you. I know that you're actually documenting this whole, bizarre experience you've had with the city of Chicago in a book. So definitely we're going to, keep communicating with you about that and letting our audience know about that. Could you kind of let people know where they can, if they want to contact you, is there, you have a Facebook or any social media profiles or something that they can reach you on?
Yeah, I'm working on something now.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook at my name, Marsette Mangum, on
Okay.
Facebook. I'm probably the only person on there with close to that spelling, so you won't be able to miss it. And I'm working on some stuff right now. I don't really want to put too much out there, but
Okay.
what I will say, I'll give you an exclusive on this one. I'm working on a concept I'm calling "Turd in the Punch Bowl." Yeah, and that's kind of crazy, I know, but hear it out. If you were, and I had this concept I was kind of working on with a natural food chef that's a friend of mine, and she was explaining why she doesn't eat certain things, even if you take she was talking about greens, but if you take the meat out of the greens, it's the same thing as taking the turd out of a punch bowl. You wouldn't, oh man, I'm glad you took that out. I was thirsty. You wouldn't dip your cup into it because you immediately realize that there are toxins still in the liquid.
Right.
So what I mean by that is that's the system of white supremacy, and that's the system of racism that we're dealing with. So, hey, if we move one police chief or we remove one mayor, there's still toxins in the system that we have to deal with. There's still 400 years of toxins and 400 years of oppression in terms of the police department, in terms of economics, in terms of racism in the health department, education, this, that, and the other. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got to bleach the whole punch bowl and start over.
Right.
And that's the thing. Or even throw it away and get another one, unless that was your grandmother's punch bowl. You put bleach in it for a week and you give it back to her. So I know it sounds a little crazy, but in order to get people's attention who wouldn't normally gravitate to this movement, you have to do some things that are different.
Right.
So that's what we're working on. Be on the lookout for some more pieces on that movement, and we're trying to clear out the turd in the punch bowl and throw a couple of gallons of bleach in there and start this thing over.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more about that. And again, thank you so much for for your time today, but also your dedication and bringing something new to the city of Chicago, for Black Chicago at that. Thank you so much for that. I'm really excited about your future, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through what you went through here in the city of Chicago. So super excited to support you moving forward.
Thanks again, Maria. I appreciate you and Dr. Boyce Watkins and your help and support in this whole endeavor.
No problem. It's our pleasure. And for you guys who are tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. And please just keep a watchful eye on what Marsette has going on. We will definitely keep you guys updated and enjoy the rest of Dr. King's holiday. Thank you guys so much.